Kenichi Kinasato here. I'm with the 5th AFW Battalion, Kanto region. I've been assigned the light AFW on this mission. Kinasato? That's an unusual name. I've been hearing that all of my life. You must be Ryoko. Nice to meet you. Oh, my immediate instinct is Hasselberry from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I can't quite remember. He was like, I've almost done. He's kind of. I can't remember what he sounds like. I can't do a decent impression. So I don't know. Let's go like. Oh, I don't have any more voices apart from possibly that one. But it's a really shitty voice for a man who looks cool. Okay, here we go. Here we go. John Caster here. I'm a 4-leg AFW test pilot for GMI. Glad to meet you all. Alright! An infantry unit will be assembled to accompany you according to the standard AFW operating procedure. The squad will need a leader, a point of contact between mission control and the front. I've given this a great deal of thought, and my decision is that Weizsäcker is the best person for this job. Thanks. I guess I do have the most experience when it comes to actually taking the guy on. You in a command position, and they say the age of miracles is over. Can it, okay? Troop allocation for the various teams is your job. Make sure you read through the combat manual. How about you suck my cock? There is no chance I am going to be reading a book. You'll find the book in the intelligence section. Okay, let's go to the record room and save it. And then try and work out how long I've been playing the game. Oh, no, that doesn't help. Oh no, that does help. It probably loosely helps. If that is 0644 and now it's 724, if that is some form of time code, and you would assume it is, because it's managed to get the December and it's managed to get the year 18. Not quite worked out the date, because that's not quite correct. Not quite correct. Close, but not quite. So, and the time is way off. It's not 7:24, and I'm assuming I haven't played 7 hours 24 minutes. So I'm assuming the internal clock of this emulator is not quite... Did I say emulator? I mean, the internal clock of this real PlayStation 2 is not quite accurate. But nonetheless, that's probably about an hour or so, at least. Mix that with the fact that that was the that wasn't quite the first save. So, I'm in a dilemma. Because I really ought to move on. You've done me again! You've done me again, Slaves of War. You've done me again. You've found a game that I want to continue, but really ought not continue because I really ought to do something else. Gah! Why you do this? Right, this is the information room. This is where you have books. This is where you can fuck off. This is the formation room. You can alter the formation of soldiers in each unit. Yes, we'll just randomly do it with no understanding of how. Okay, so it looks like we have Okichi crew. I'm fine with that. The Akiyama ground. I'm good with that. And I've got a hat. Which is peculiar, because I'm assuming that's based on some kind of medic team, maybe. That fucking no clue. I mean, that looks a bit like it's some kind of bong. It's like an urn with a pipe punched through it. So, hence why I was thinking bong style. And then the ground units, that looks a bit more like it's some form of helmet, at least. And that's why it's amusing me that it's Hatanaka. Do all these have the same? No, Endo, Suinaga, Matsue, and then Kajita, Nita, Miyamoto. Oh, but he... ooh. Oh! Oh! Eee! So maybe I have to actually choose a crew. Oh, possibly the crew is in the thing and the ground troops are out of the thing? Maybe? I don't know! Oh, I don't want to read the book! But you're making me read the book, game! I don't want... I don't read book! I can't read book. I'm just going to go straight into the sortie and see what the fuck happens. Wow, I think the game knows I didn't read the book because it just said pilot's mess. And considering I have no idea what I'm doing with any of these new functions, it's probably going to be a fucking mess. I realise, just in case you thought I was being really stupid, that is like the kitchen-y food area, I believe. The old mess tent. Or mess air, anything. Oh, I feel like that might be short for something, and I feel like I would recognise it, but I might have to look it up. It might not be short for anything, and I might be bullshitting, but hey, I'm going to look it up anyway. It's one of those intriguing little things. Is it just a mess tent, or was it shortened from a different word to form mess tent? And the different ward is much more obvious and linking to sort of foodstuffs. So this place got the atom bomb too. That maybe shouldn't have put so much sass into that sentence. Sounded oddly smug and self-satisfied for an absolute fucking tragedy. I apologise, and so does she. Correct. But it's not likely to happen again given the current restrictions in this region. You mean Rossini? Do I mean Rossini? I don't know. Raccini? Rossini's a bit more Italian. Do you think it was Rossini? I don't know. You mean Rossini? Racini? Rossini. It's definitely not the last one. Yes, the world's first nuclear payload was delivered by an aircraft. When the full effects of the weapon became known after World War II, the ban on aircraft use in the Far East came into existence. Now referred to as the Revised Air... so it is just... I mean, I suppose it should have been obvious, the fact that it was capitalised. But it's the Revised Air Combat Initiative, or Rossini. I hate it when they just go, let's take whatever letters make a good acronym, despite it not being part of the fucking acronym. But yeah, they've gone... I like the R for revised, and A from air, very good. Quality choice. RA, that's going to make a good word, that is. Combat, yeah, combat. Rack's a good one. Rack will go. Initiative, well, we've got racy. Maybe let's just shove on a couple more of the initiative letters just to not have it sound like it's a little bit racy. But it does slightly bug me when they just... And it also bugs me if they'd gone and called it like the Ricini and gone, well, it's the revised air, but we've chosen the I because it looks better in the acronym. I don't think they'd necessarily do that for that sort of word, but I've seen acronyms where they've done that. It's very stupid, very annoying. Anyway, revised doodah. As a result, no aircraft can ever take off or fly fly over the entire Far East region. That's handy, isn't it? That's handy that they've introduced that, because the game doesn't have to incorporate any form of aerial combat. That's quite useful, isn't it? It's very handy that this world banned aircraft. Nuclear weapons are almost impossible to use except as an airborne payload. No, I'm not convinced that's true, mate, but does that really mean the end to nuclear weapons? Violating the agreement would mean taking on the entire international community. I doubt any one nation is prepared to do that. So they say. It's surprisingly difficult to get that voice on so few words. Very troublesome, very difficult. Kujikuri. What a wasteland. No sign of human habitation. The Kujikuri beach is a no-access zone. It saw more combat than any other area, and this is the result. It looks like another planet. Only an AFW can move around these craters. It was a landing spot for American troops at one point, and was a heavy combat zone during the Greater Asian War. Most of what you see here is the aftermath of the Americans' Coronet project. I'll remember. No offence, John. We all left behind a Kujikuri in a... Hang on. We all left behind a Kujikuri in different parts of the world. Hey, no offense taken. You read too much into these things, man. His voice has shifted. Annihilation of all enemies. Destruction of Weizsägger's AFW, or going over the day 50700 hours time limit. I would hope I can do this within 5 days, but you never know. It depends on precisely how difficult this mission is. Before we begin the mission, I'll need to go over what constitutes an unoccupied terrain. Oh, I was going to say, I don't think you do. I don't think you do, mate. Any unoccupied terrain is a terrain that has nothing in it. But it's not quite what he meant. It's not quite what he meant. There are, and this is suddenly heading back towards Advance Wars, if it goes in the direction I think it's going in. Unoccupied terrain can be found throughout the map. Some unoccupied terrain has recuperative properties that help soldiers recover their strength. If a squad gets its turn on one of those terrain, the soldiers in that squad automatically recover their strength. Two pieces of terrain that are unoccupied but have no recuperative qualities are the harbour and the prison camp. In combat, strength recovery is key, so be on the lookout for this terrain. Another thing to note is that the automatic strength recovering works only for personnel. The AFW won't recover from the damage unless you execute a recuperate command for it. Being on a recuperative terrain is not a license to kick back and relax. Got it? Also, when a team concludes its actions on an unoccupied terrain with a different colour from that of its own, the squad then occupies that terrain. As long as it is coloured differently from the squad, most terrain can be occupied. Lookouts are an exception and need to be destroyed, not occupied. Next, we take a look at how to procure personnel from the terrain. Occupy a terrain with a star mark in the terrain information, and new personnel can be recruited. The size of the star indicates the number of new soldiers and availability. The large star means 2 platoons, the small 1 platoon. On the other hand, if an unoccupied terrain is taken over by the enemy, we lose those soldiers. Unless we want to give those men away to the enemy, we need to be the first ones on the scene. One more thing about the enemy-occupied terrain. Even if an enemy squad finishes its action on a terrain with the same colour as themselves, they won't be able to occupy it again. Since it's already occupied, they won't be able to do it again. In situations like this, the star disappears only when the enemy team takes advantage of the personnel recuperation property. Simply put, when a damaged squad has its turn on a terrain marked with a star, they won't be able to procure new personnel from there. Recruits procured for occupation tend to be a superior quality bunch in general, and can help you shape the battle to your advantage. Considering that, it would be wise to procure... He's got a lot to say. It would be wise to procure as many of the star terrain recruits as you can. That's it for this topic. Do you need me to go over it again? Dear God, no! Please, man. Please. Let me have a little bit of fun with my mission. Team leader, unconfirmed squadron heading this way. Alright, all units, spread out and be ready to engage. We'll pursue Type 3 after we deal with this bunch. Okay. Whatever you say. Alright, so this is Kinosato in what I'm assuming is the low. So that's going to be sort of AFW, I think these are. These are just your standard AFWs. Then that symbol. It's interesting because that's like a decent looking logo, and then that's like a duck. Which I suppose maybe his AFW looks a little bit like a duck, but it's weird that that one looks kind of cool and balanced, and then that one looks like a duck. And then this one is going to be a 4-leg one, and that's, I'm assuming... Now, did he say 4 legs were the range ones? I think he did, didn't he? Yes, he definitely did, because that's got the superior range. Okay.